Oh, you're muted, Mr. Hughes.
I'm good, Mrs.
There you
Fusco.
are.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. So we're
All
going to give
right.
everybody just an extra second to hop in,
Okay,
and then
sounds
we'll get
good.
started. Thank you guys for all being here. Cool. Well, it's 4:30, so let's do it. Mr. Hughes, can you give us an overview of building trades?
Sure. Building trades is a 2-year program done in your junior and your senior year. It's a great program. It's a lot of hands-on. The junior year we'll talk about, quite a bit of theory and stuff, and give you guys a lot of the basics, the terminology, and we'll go over, you know, but we usually have about a half an hour to 40-minute lesson every day, and then the rest of the time is shop time. Whereas when you get to the senior year, it's about maybe 80% shop time. We might have a 10-minute session in the beginning of class just to get you guys going, and then the rest is all hands-on work. It's pretty much our senior year. So you make it through the junior year, the senior year is great because we build a house every year. The junior year, we start out, going through like a lot of the safety stuff in the beginning because we want to make sure that everybody has a good basic safety of all the tools that we use in the shop. We got tons of different tools that mostly carpenters would use on the job. We focus primarily on carpentry, but we also touch on uh, electrical and plumbing and a little bit of sheet metal work and stuff like that. But the main focus is on carpentry. My background is as a carpenter. I was in the carpenters union. The other teachers that teach building trades were basically carpenters too in the field. And so we spend most of the time on the carpentry aspect of the building trades. But we, give you guys good hands-on of the different other areas in the building trades field. We take a field trip every year. We go out to the operator and engineers construction facility out in Hamburg, and all the unions are out there. All the different trades are out there. Iron workers, sheet metal workers, Department of Transportation's out there. The operator engineers, they let the students use all their heavy equipment, drive backhoes and cranes and that kind of stuff. And the iron workers let you do a little bit of welding, and they got booths set up, and so they try to tell you about what it's like to work all day in the trade. Usually when you get out there and you go to work in the trade, your job is typically from 7 to 3:30. Union jobs are typically 7 to 3:30. You might get a 15-minute break in the morning, and then from 12 to 12:30 is lunch. That would be a typical job. Other companies might set it up a little bit differently, but that would be a typical day. So you got to be ready and willing to put in the hours. It's not easy work, but it's rewarding. You get to uh, you know see what you accomplished at the end of the day. It could be you might be working on a commercial building, doing form work. Form work is basically the molds for the concrete. Okay, so if you're in the carpenters are the one that build the forms. They're the ones that they set the forms. Okay, they build them and set them in place, and the iron workers put all the steel in there. Plumbers and electricians would run all the their pipes and the electrical wires, and then cement finish them, and the carpenters would remove the forms. So that's basically on a commercial job. That's like a commercial concrete structural job. Okay, if you could be doing residential construction where you're doing framing, you're framing a house, and then you could be doing the interior finish. You could be roofing, you could be siding, you could be installing drywall, finishing drywall. So there's a ton of different trades that a carpenter, I mean, a ton of different tasks that a carpenter would be could be doing. Okay, they could be doing anything from installing fixtures in a mall, okay, or setting up a trade show or things like that. Or they could be, like I was saying, doing the form work on a commercial job, setting columns, uh, shear walls, those kind of things. So there's a ton of jobs out there, and once you get like a trade under your belt, you can get a job anywhere you want in the country. No matter you can move anywhere you want and find a job within a day or two. When I was younger, that's what I did. Okay, I worked in a bunch of different states. I worked in Maryland, I worked in Texas, and then in New York State quite a bit. So wherever you went, you could find a job within a day or two. It was easy to find a job, and it still is because there's construction jobs going on everywhere. And if you have a skill, it's something you have for the rest of your life. So they can't take it away from you. So it's like money in the bank. So the junior year, I can keep going. I'll keep going a little bit. I'll keep going and talk about the junior year. Okay. So like I was saying, we talk about the safety aspect of the job. Make sure you guys know how to operate all the hand tools and power tools safely. We go over all that stuff, and then we start out with some smaller projects. We check you out on your measuring skills. Make sure you know how to measure, mark, and properly do whatever you have to do to the material. Cut the material, form the material, shape it or whatever, sand it. Okay. And we use all kinds of different tools, the circular saws, table saws, routers, and whatever. And then the main junior project, we teach all the steps to build a house. We set the forms, you shoot elevations, you set up builder's levels, and you got to determine the elevations at different heights that your concrete's going to be poured at. You build the forms for the concrete, you pour concrete for your footer and foundation wall. Then you do floor framing, subfloor. Then you build the walls, frame the walls up, and then you do the roof framing. Teach you how to lay out a common rafter, and you cut out your rafters, put your roof decking on, and install the roofing, the shingles and stuff. Do your barge rafters, gable studs, and all that. And then we do a couple modules in electrical and plumbing, and then we do a little bit of electrical and plumbing in your junior project. And then we do the insulation and drywall, finish the drywall, and then we do the interior trim, and then we do the exterior finish on the projects, teach how to do all the different types of siding, how to bend aluminum using a aluminum brake, do the different bends and stuff. So when you're done, you're ready to build a house your senior year. And then we start out, first thing the senior year, we start out building a house out in the parking lot. Each student has to build a pier. That's what the house sets on, because the parking lot's on level. So each student has to build a pier. Each pier is different because it's got a different elevation. We have to make the tops of the piers level. So since the parking lot's on level, students got to use the builder's level to get the top of their pier to the proper elevation. And we usually have about 38 to 40 piers that support the house. After we get all the piers built and they're all to the proper elevation, we do the floor frame. The floor is, the house we build is a two-piece modular house. It's 52 by 24 feet. It's two 12-foot by 52 feet sections connected with a 4-foot temporary hallway. It has a triple box beam that goes all around it. So we build a triple box beam. Okay, that's 3 2x10s laminated together, 52 feet long. And then it's connected by triple 2x10s that are 12 foot long. So when you're done, we got two rectangles that are 52 by 12 foot. And then we put in all our common joists throughout the whole thing. And then we install our subfloor. After we do the bridging and stuff, we install the subfloor. Then we build our walls on that. And then we put the roof on there. The roof's made to fold down. So we put like a hinge roof on there with carriage bolts. Then we do the roof sheathing. And then we finish the roof off with the shingles and put a temporary roof over the 4-foot section that's in the middle. And we try to get it all dried in. That means like buttoned up from the weather by about Thanksgiving, because the weather starts getting bad around here, starts getting cold. So we try to get it all buttoned up by about Thanksgiving. And that way we can work on the inside after Thanksgiving. So we get it all buttoned up. We get a temporary heater in there. And usually like right after Christmas break, we come back and we insulate the inside. And then we drywall it. Well, while we're just before Christmas, the electricians come in there and they wire it all up. They do the rough wiring. So we're in the shop usually doing personal projects at that time. Where students, the senior year, they design their own project. They might build a cabinet to take home. They might build a jewelry box for their girlfriend or something. They come up with their own design and build their own projects. Adirondack chair, gun rack, all different types of stuff they build. Okay, they got usually about 3 or 4 weeks. They can build their own different personal project the senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So then after Christmas break, we come back. It's all rough wired. And we come back and that's when we insulate it usually. So we put all the insulation in. Then we can turn on the heater because we don't want to turn the heater on before it's insulated because we're going to lose all that heat. So after we get
Seems
insulated,
silly,
turn on
yeah.
the heater. Right. We turn on the heater and then we install the drywall, finish all the drywall. And then we paint it. We try to get the interior finished up. It takes a long time to finish the interior real nice. It takes usually a month or two, or a month, 5 weeks or so maybe. And then we install the cabinets and all the trim, and we get it all the interior finished. And then the weather starts getting better, like around the beginning of the middle of April, somewhere in that time, we do the siding on the outside, and students go on internships for 3 weeks around that time, also the senior year. And then we usually got a week or two to finish the house off, and then it gets auctioned off usually the last day of school the senior year. That's our normal typical schedule. We try to, we've been on that schedule for quite a while, except for last year we got knocked off our schedule a little bit. But other than that,
Sure.
we should be back on the schedule next year if everything works out right. So that's
Yeah.
pretty much for the overall view of the building trades program.
Yeah. Well, and I wanna make sure everyone knows that when you say the electricians come in and they wire everything, that's the electrical class.
Yep.
It's the students that come in and do it, which is pretty cool. So you get to work with, it's just like on a job site, you'd be working with all the different trades. If you're working on building a house, you're going to work with the other classes too while you're building this house. So it is really reminiscent of what you'll see out in the real world, right, Mr. Hughes?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Because when you're on a job site, a commercial job or residential job, you're working right alongside all the other trades, and sometimes you have to make different allotments for the different trades, especially when you're on a commercial job, because when you're on a commercial, especially a big commercial job where they have a crane on the job or something, maybe the iron workers get to use a crane during a certain time and the carpenters use a crane during a different time. So you got to be able to share and, use the resources properly. You got to be aware of everybody else's job and, get things ready for them, or they get things ready for you. So you got to work together and do like cooperative learning.
Mm-hmm.
And we also build a frame in the electrical class. We build like a shell. It's like we call it a shell, but it's basically a framed wall framed up where the electricians can run all their wires and do all their practice stuff in the electrical class. So it's another project we do our senior year, usually in the beginning of the year, and then the electricians use that as a practice thing all year long, and then they take it down at the end of the year, and then we build another one the next year. That's another project we've been doing quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, it all works out. It all goes round and round, right?
Exactly. Yep. We try to make everything good for the electricians. They help us out. We help them out.
Mm-hmm.
As one of my friends used to say, one hand washes the other.
Exactly. And hand washing has never been more important than during a pandemic.
Exactly. So now you got to get both your hands washed pretty good. But
Yeah. Mr. Hughes, do you need any like previous knowledge to come into your class?
no, not necessarily. But it helps. But if say your dad's in the building trades field, a lot of times those kids come in with a little bit of previous knowledge, but it's not necessary. We teach you everything from the beginning. We assume that you know nothing, basically, and we teach you how to, do all the proper and stuff. So, and some kids pick it up like nothing. And we usually can sense that in the first couple of projects. We can, some kids have been, they got a bunch of tools around the house and they've been helping their dad on different projects around the house. But some kids, haven't had that experience. But that doesn't matter. If they think they want to, take building trades, they think they might want to use all these different power tools. Maybe they never even held a paintbrush before or things like that. We teach you everything right from the beginning. So if you don't have any experience, it's not a prerequisite. We assume that you don't have any previous experience. And then if you do, that's just a little extra bonus. You can kind of, sometimes the kids that do have the extra experience or have been doing projects around the house, they're, maybe a little bit ahead or something like that, but the other kids can catch right up. Sometimes we know the kids that sometimes they say they have a lot of experience, but sometimes it's not necessarily true. But
Sure.
sometimes it helps you get a job too when you talk about all the experience you had too, though. So
Right.
it helps out. We also go up to the media lab and we do a portfolio every year. Portfolio shows all the work you've been doing all year long. We'll do project reports in there, teach you how to do a cover letter and resume. So when you get out your senior year, that's a good tool for getting a job. And then you can keep that portfolio throughout your whole career and work your way right up in the career field. Say you're on a job site and you're, say you start out as a carpenter's helper, you could take some pictures of the jobs you're working on and write up what you done that and put that in your portfolio. Then maybe the next job you worked your way up. Now you're a carpenter, and now you got then you work your way up. You're a carpenter foreman, so on and so forth. Then you can work your way up to be a project manager. So you can use that portfolio the rest of your life to just keep adding to it, putting projects you worked on, putting them in there, and then you can always go back to it. And, think about different jobs you've worked on, and sometimes when you work your way up to a different job, you can use that portfolio to show them what you've done in the past. And you make a lot of connections that way too. So portfolio is definitely a good tool for job seeking when you get out of here. And if you're missing a credit in math, English, or science, we have an agreement where you can get those credits through the building trades program. Say you're lacking or you need an extra credit in math, science, or English, you can get that credit if you can't fit it into your schedule. So that helps out too.
Right. And we talked about it in the last one with Mr. Feeney, but we have articulation agreements with your program where you can double dip and you can start your college career now while you're in high school if that's something that you're interested in doing. Right, Mr. Hughes?
Right. Yep, exactly. We have articulation agreements with Alfred State College, the building trades program. And if you meet certain criteria, you can get certain classes waived over there. And we also have articulation agreements with ECC, their building trades program, and Morrisville. Most of our students that want to pursue building trades, it seems most of them go to either Alfred State or ECC. We haven't had too many go to Morrisville, but they go to usually those two colleges if they want to pursue their career in building trades. Some of our students go right to work, and they can be very successful too, right out of Area 1 BOCES. So it's up to you. So usually
there are options for you to go any which way.
Right. You can either go to college, you could go to work, you could go right to work and take some courses at night and work your way up. I had one student that graduated a few years ago, well, quite a few years ago, and he worked his way. He got a job with the same company that he interned for. He worked there for a little bit, then they made him like a project or like a foreman. He was still working there, and he was going to ECC at night, taking project management. And then he did an internship with another company through ECC, and now he's a project manager. He's been a project manager for quite a while for Anastasi, which is a commercial, like they do bridges and roads and stuff like that. So he's a project manager for that company now. And he started out with Cortez Brothers, and they hated to see him go. They were kind of bummed that he left and went to the other company, but he had to work his way up, so he did that. But he's a good kid. He actually won the regional competition in carpentry. We have the students have an opportunity to go to Skills USA, and they have a regional competition down in Alfred every year, where you can compete against different BOCES in Western New York. And if you do good in that, you got a chance to go to the state competition, which is in Syracuse. So I know this kid, he won the regional competition. And I had another kid a couple years ago, he won the regional competition, Owen Haynes, and then he went to Syracuse and won the state competition in cabinetry. And then he went to nationals in Kansas City. I think he came in 7th in nationals or something like that. That was about 2 years ago. So he was a real good student. So it depends on, what you put into it. I mean, you can learn a lot in our program. You can learn a lot. You can learn a skill. You can get a skill. If you go work on the job, it takes you a long time to learn all the stuff that you can learn in our program. That's why we talk about all the theory. If you're just working on a job and learning as you're going, it takes a long time because people on the job, sometimes they don't want to teach all this stuff because they're afraid you're going to be you know more than them, basically. You'll be making more money than them. So on the job site, it's a lot easier to learn in a school like Area 1 BOCES than it would be to learn on the job. That's my opinion.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
What we should talk about, though, a little bit is safety and what's required in your class for, what do students need to bring with them to be
Okay.
in accordance with safety?
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
First of all, the tools that are required in our program are a hammer, tape measure, and a nail bag. Okay, that's just like a tool belt. Okay, and then if you want to get some other tools like a speed square or utility knife or uh, tin snips, those kind of things, some other hand tools, that's fine too. But the basics are hammer, tape measure, nail bag. We provide the safety glasses. One good pair. If you break them, then you're supposed to supply your own after that, but usually we'll get a pair for you if you need one. So we got to wear safety glasses at all times in the shop. You need work boots and long pants in the shop. Those are requirements. Okay. Um, we talk about all the different other safety measures with all the tools, and we also go through the OSHA 10 your junior year. We usually do it the junior year. I think at Potero, they might do it the senior year. I'm not 100% sure about that, but we usually cover the OSHA 10 your junior year. I'm a OSHA trainer. I've gone through it. I've taught probably 20 different times the OSHA 10. I did it 3 times over the summer online, which is like the first time I had to do it online. But usually it's 10 hours and we go through a bunch of different safety stuff. There's different topics we have to cover. And when you're done, you get a card that shows your OSHA certified with your 10-hour card, basically. So we do that every year. That's a main safety thing. And that's a big important thing to have on the job site. A lot of contractors want you to have that OSHA 10 in order to get hired. In fact, some jobs, a lot of jobs, if it's a prevailing wage job, that means like it's a state funded job, you have to have your OSHA 10 to work on that job. So I've had contractors call me and I've had to train some of their workers just so they could work on the job, the OSHA 10. So it's a good bonus to have. And it's good for life, basically, your OSHA 10. And then you can go on and get your OSHA 30. If you're a foreman or superintendent on the job, you have to have your OSHA 30 on a prevailing wage job.
Hmm. So is that different? Is it different if you go commercial versus residential, or you need it for both?
Well, you need a well, mostly commercial jobs are prevailing rate jobs. If it's like a state funded job, like if you're working on a school, that would be the
Mhm.
state funded job, or it's a prevailing wage job. If you're working on a prevailing wage job, they call it like a rate job, you'd be making about maybe $65 an hour,
Mhm.
approximately. That's like if it's a non-union job and it's a rate job, they have to pay union wages plus the benefits. If it's a union company that bid on it, they just pay the union rate and then they take the benefits out that goes into the health and welfare fund in the union. But
Gotcha.
in order for it to be a rate job and to make it equal bidding for union or non-union, a non-union company, uh, all those workers have to get paid the union wage plus the benefits. It's all got to be documented, payroll, so on and so forth. So it makes it equal. So a lot of non-union companies, their workers love working on rate jobs. They might be making maybe $20 an hour on a normal job. If they
Mhm.
go onto a rate job, they might be making 55, $60 an hour. And then some like a non-union company would be, they might bounce back and forth. They might have a rate job, then a non-rate job. So
Mhm.
it's kind of it's tough to go back to the $20 an hour when you're making 50 or $60 an hour. So
Right.
sometimes that can be a problem too. But usually, if it's a union job, you're making the same wages the whole time. But like a non-union company would bid on some rate jobs. That would be like a state funded job or federally funded jobs. Those are all prevailing wage type jobs.
Mhm. So
But
can students, when they graduate from your program, can they join the union or a
yeah,
union?
yeah, they can join the union. They have the carpenters training hall is over on Maryville Drive, and they usually have a test. I'm not sure if they do the test anymore, but you go over to the union hall and they can give you all the information on that. And if you join the union, uh, they have like pre-apprentice, first period apprentice, second period apprentice, so on and so forth. And you work your way up to be a journeyman. And they usually have like training. I believe it's 2 nights a week, and you get paid for that. You get paid for you know like a first period apprentice would make 50% of a journeyman's wage. And then second period would make like 60% of a journeyman's wage.
Hmm.
Third period would make like 70%, and you work your way up to become a journeyman carpenter. That's how that works. So you get trained while you get paid, basically.
Not a
And
bad.
they have good, real good benefit package.
Hmm.
So
Hmm. So if
uh,
anyone, I don't want anyone to forget if they have questions. So you feel free to type them into the chat box if you want. You can also unmute and ask your questions. Um, so Mr. Hughes, like if a student comes into your class, right? What's one characteristic that they can bring with them or character trait that's going to push them really far in your course?
well, a good trait is a student that likes to work. Some people just have the knack. They just, they love working. And we can see it right now with our students that are coming back from, now they're only in the classroom like uh, 2 days a week now.
Hmm.
These students love getting in there and love working now because, 2 days a week they miss it. They've been sitting home and they just love getting in there and working now. And I think it's like this COVID stuff. When we get a chance to get in there, they are, have been dying to just get in there and using all the tools and stuff. So the students just likes to work. They take pride in their work and they want to do a good job. They get along with other people and they're respectful.
Hmm.
And certain kids just like using power tools and stuff. They just like building stuff. Could be a, boy or a girl, whatever. Some people just take pride in, you know, taking the pleasure after you get done working hard, you know, and looking back and seeing what you did, what you accomplished. It's just a feeling of accomplishment. They like that. And it's kind of a good feeling.
You said boys and girls. I think it's a common misconception that there's only boys in the building trades class.
Yeah, that's a misconception. Some
Hmm.
of our best students have been girls. I have a junior this year that's a girl, and she's, I would say she's our top student in our junior class. There's been a lot of outstanding girls. There's not as many. It's kind of there's not that many girls that take the program, but the ones that do take it seem to do a good job.
Hmm.
I remember when I was in the carpenters union, there was a girl that worked on a job I worked on. She was the foreman of the safety crew. Believe it or not, I worked on it was a Texas Commerce Tower, 75-story building in
Hmm.
Houston, and there was about 5 different crews on the job. I was on the column crew, but one of my good buddies, who's still doing this kind of work he's down in Louisiana now. I actually just talked to him earlier today. He's doing like a big thing that holds all the oil that comes in from the ships off Louisiana. He's big. He's like a superintendent on that job. But he was on the safety crew also. And this girl, she was the foreman of the safety crew, and she was also the union steward. The union steward's the one that goes around and makes sure everybody's dues are paid up and stuff. So I can remember that. That was 40. No, let's see, how many years ago was that? It
Careful,
was a
Mr.
long
Hughes.
time ago. It was over 30 years ago. So I can't remember, but it was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
So it's a non-traditional for females, but there's a lot of opportunities. There's like because they can. I know there's different types of bids that they can bid on for a non-traditional worker also. So there's some good opportunities for them.
Yeah, it's been a common theme talking with the trades classes that, a lot of female students don't think that they can take it, but they totally can. And then
Yeah,
they end up really succeeding at it. And a common thread has been like a real attention to detail in these types of trades.
yeah. This female that I have now in the building trades junior year, her father and her grandfather both went to Harkness, and they were both carpenters. So she's come from a line of people that went through the Harkness Career Center in building trades.
Yeah.
So
You do have one question, Mr. Hughes. What's the hardest part of being a carpenter?
the hardest part, physically or mentally, that's a good question. It depends on what kind of job you're on. Okay, some jobs are pretty tough. If you're doing like some, high-rise form work, some of that can be pretty physically demanding. Installing roofing is pretty physically demanding. Um, the whole day could be, working 8 hours a day in the hot sun. That's physically demanding, but you get used to it. And now the hardest part, as far as mental goes, probably, laying out rafters, constructing stairs, there's a little bit of math involved in that. But you work your way through it.
It's all part of the learning curve, right?
Yeah, yeah, all part of the learning curve. Gets easier as you go.
Well, Mr. Hughes, that's our 30 minutes. Thank you so much for spending time with us and telling us all about building trades.
Okay,
And if anyone wants to sign up for the class, do it sooner than later. It runs out of all of our centers, but it does fill up quickly. So let your guidance counselors know if you want to participate in building trades for your junior and senior year.
all right.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot
Mr.
for everybody.
Hughes.
Everybody, thanks, Ms. Fusco.
Have a nice night.
Okay, thanks. You too.